5-4 ruling, nearly 650,000 Dreamers, young immigrants who were brought here by their parents, will be allowed to remain in the U.S. living and working with legal protections. Conservative Chief Justice John Roberts siding with the more liberal justices, arguing the Trump administration acted unlawfully to end the program. President Trump tonight attacking the court and what he's saying now. There is also major news out of Atlanta tonight, the deadly police shooting of Rayshard Brooks. The 2 officers now surrendering. Former officer Garrett Rolfe now behind bars facing 11 charges, including felony murder. Officer Devin Brosnan charged with aggravated assault, released on bond today. And tonight we hear from him going on cable TV to defend himself. What he says about Rayshard Brooks. Tonight, the reaction after President Trump said he deserves credit for making Juneteenth, quote, very famous. The day commemorating the end of slavery in the U.S. After rescheduling his rally in Tulsa, originally set for the same day, the president telling the Wall Street Journal nobody had ever heard of it. An aide pointing out his own administration put out proclamations marking the day for the last 3 years. The coronavirus concerns there in Tulsa with that rally coming and across several states tonight where COVID-19 infections are soaring. Florida tonight reporting an all-time high, more than 3,200 cases in 24 hours. What we've learned about the number of ICU beds there. In Texas, more than 3,500 new cases, including 13 football players from the University of Texas. President Trump blasting John Bolton tonight, his former national security advisor calling him a liar, trying to block Bolton's book. Martha Raddatz landing the first interview with Bolton right here. The major wildfires burning out of control at this hour, thousands forced to evacuate. The last surviving sibling of JFK has died. And tonight, we also remember a famous voice who helped calm families waiting for loved ones to return from war, singing, "We'll Meet Again."
This is ABC World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening, and it's great to have you with us on a very busy night of news. Tonight, the Supreme Court ruling on the Dreamers, blocking President Trump's plan to end the program that protects nearly 650,000 young immigrants who came to America as children, protecting them from being deported. Chief Justice John Roberts joining the court's more liberal justices in the 5-4 decision, saying the president has the right to dismantle the program, but that the administration failed to provide, quote, a reasoned explanation for its action. On the steps of the Supreme Court today, there were celebrations, banners saying America is home. It was a blow to the president. Ending DACA was a top campaign promise, and it was the second time this week the High Court has ruled against him after Tuesday's decision protecting LGBTQ workers from discrimination in the workplace. Tonight, the president responding, taking on the court and making it clear this will be a key issue come November. But for now, a major victory for the Dreamers, and ABC's Terry Moran, who covers the court, leading us off tonight.
Across America, for hundreds of thousands of Dreamers, there was relief for now.
I'm surprised, to be honest. I was expecting the worst.
For many, the ruling keeps hope alive.
Still feels very surreal.
Crissia Rivera came to our country from El Salvador when she was 8 years old. She's a medical student in Rhode Island now.
This decision means that I will be able to apply to residency programs and hopefully achieve my dream of becoming a surgeon.
In the court's 5-4 ruling today, conservative Chief Justice John Roberts joined the 4 liberal justices rejecting the Trump administration's stated reasons for ending DACA in 2017 as merely arbitrary and capricious, violating federal law. At the same time, the court's ruling makes clear the president can end the program as long as he does it properly. We do not decide whether DACA or its rescission are sound policies. We address only whether the agency provided a reasoned explanation for its action, Roberts wrote. In a fierce dissent, Justice Clarence Thomas called DACA unlawful from its inception and accused his fellow justices of ducking their duty. Today's decision must be recognized for what it is, an effort to avoid a politically controversial but legally correct decision, Thomas wrote. Within hours of the ruling, President Trump fired off a few furious tweets. These horrible and politically charged decisions coming out of the Supreme Court are shotgun blasts into the face of people that are proud to call themselves Republicans or conservatives, he wrote, adding another, "Do you get the impression that the Supreme Court doesn't like me?" President Obama announced the DACA program, which protects law-abiding immigrants who came to America as children from being deported in 2012. Since then, more than 825,000 have utilized the program, including roughly 27,000 now working in the healthcare industry fighting COVID-19. All told, the Dreamers paid nearly $4 billion in federal taxes in 2017, and their families include 256,000 U.S. children born here. Garcia Rivera spoke for so many of those Dreamers today.
The truth is, America is my home.
So let's get right to Terry Moran at the court for us tonight. And Terry, this ruling, while a victory for the Dreamers, we know it's not a permanent decision. So what's likely to come next? And this immediately puts this front and center come Election Day.
It sure does, David. And this is not a permanent decision, as you say. It puts it right back on the map. President Trump can go and try again, and he suggested on Twitter he will, and that will mean the Dreamers will be a big election issue. Joe Biden responding on Twitter today, saying, here's my promise to you. On day one, I'll send a bill to Congress that creates a clear roadmap to citizenship for Dreamers and for 11 million undocumented migrants into our country. So it is a major political issue now that it has left the courts. David?
Terry Moran leading us off tonight. Terry, thank you. There are also major developments in the death of Rayshard Brooks in Atlanta. Tonight, the two officers involved have now surrendered to face charges. Officer Devin Brosnan, accused of aggravated assault and violation of oath. Posting bond, he's free tonight, going on cable TV today to defend himself. You will hear what he says about Rayshard Brooks, saying he was friendly, that this was a tragedy. Meantime, the other officer, Garrett Rolfe, facing 11 counts, including felony murder. He remains behind bars. And tonight, the video of Rayshard Brooks, what he said just this year about his experiences with the criminal justice system. Steve Osunsami from Atlanta again tonight.
The divisive images tonight out of Atlanta. City police officers going to jail. 27-year-old Garrett Rolfe, the former officer who shot and killed Rayshard Brooks in the parking lot of a Wendy's restaurant, is fighting a murder charge. He's being held without bail. 26-year-old Devin Brosnan is accused of aggravated assault and walked out hours later on a $50,000 signature bond. He then went on cable TV sharing what everyone has seen in these police videos, that this police encounter started peacefully.
I felt he was friendly, he was respectful, I was respectful to him, and I felt like, he seemed like someone who potentially needed my help. And I was really just there to see what I could do for him, make sure that he was safe.
You want to go down and up?
They determined Brooks was drunk, and when they tried to put him in handcuffs, he refused, and it got physical. He's seen wrestling one of their stun guns away, and when he reaches back and points it towards Garrett Rolfe, Rolfe fires 3 shots. Brooks dies. The bullets shot through the parking lot and barely missed witnesses in their cars.
These cops have been killing people. So I'm like, okay, they wrestling with this man, and the cops telling him stop fighting, start resisting.
The rank and file of Atlanta police believe the shooting was justified and that city leaders served these officers up for political reasons. Police across the city have been calling in sick. The official line from police is that the numbers are small, saying in statements, we have enough resources to maintain operations and remain able to respond to incidents.
Our job is ugly to start with, and now you face the chance of, at best, spending the rest of your life in prison without parole.
Before he was killed, Brooks was trying to recover from having a criminal record and spoke about being trapped in the probation system with a group called Reconnect, focused on justice reform.
I just feel like some of the system could, look at us as individuals. We do have lives, it's just a mistake we made, and, not just do us as if we are animals.
He felt the justice system was unfair to Black Americans.
Former Officer Rolfe could have to pay for this with his life if he's convicted of felony murder. The funeral for Mr. Brooks is scheduled for Tuesday. David?
All right, Steve, our thanks to you again tonight. This evening, the reaction after President Trump said he deserves credit for making Juneteenth, quote, very famous, the day commemorating the end of slavery in the U.S., because the president had to reschedule his Tulsa rally originally set for the same day. The president telling the Wall Street Journal nobody had ever heard of it. One of his aides then pointing out his own administration put out statements marking the day for the last 3 years. Marcus Moore from Tulsa.
Tonight, supporters lining up in Tulsa, days ahead of the president's first rally in months. The president planned to have the rally on Friday, Juneteenth, but postponed it to Saturday after backlash over the original date, which is set aside to commemorate the end of slavery. Tonight, he's making headlines for controversial comments, telling the Wall Street Journal, quote, "I did something good. I made Juneteenth very famous," taking credit for the holiday, adding, quote, "Nobody had ever heard of it." An aide then pointing out to the president that the White House has issued statements on Juneteenth in each of his first 3 years in office. The president saying, quote, "Oh, really? We put out a statement? The Trump White House put out a statement? Okay, good." In response, Senator Kamala Harris firing back, tweeting, "Retweet if you'd heard of Juneteenth." Juneteenth is recognized by 47 states and D.C. and marks the date in 1865 when Major General Gordon Granger arrived in Texas and ordered the slaves freed, more than 2 years after President Abraham Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation. President Trump was asked if he's considering making it a federal holiday.
A number of people have asked me that question. We'll take a look.
Nike, Uber, and Twitter joining a growing number of companies observing Juneteenth as a paid holiday for employees. David, late news coming in tonight. The Washington Post reporting that Mary Elizabeth Taylor, the Assistant Secretary of State for Legislative Affairs, has resigned. She's been with the Trump team since day one, and in her letter to Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, she wrote, quote, "Moments of upheaval can change you, shift the trajectory of your life, and mold your character." The president's comments and actions surrounding racial injustice and black Americans cut sharply against my core values and convictions. David.
All right, Marcus Moore with us with that late word tonight. Marcus, thank you. And we should point out that an ABC News special, Juneteenth, the celebration of overcoming, will air tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern, right here on ABC. But the news continues tonight in the coronavirus surging here in the U.S. Florida setting a new record, Texas reporting a record too. And tonight, word 13 football players from the University of Texas have coronavirus. And in California tonight, the governor now making it mandatory, telling everyone there you should be wearing a mask. ABC's Matt Gutman from California tonight.
Tonight, Florida, Arizona, and California setting daily records for new coronavirus infections. California's governor now ordering everyone to wear masks in public.
We're all talking about the second wave. We're not out of the first wave. Our numbers are going up, not going down.
New cases hitting a record high in Texas, over 3,500 reported today. Texas's governor insisting schools will reopen in the fall, but masks and COVID tests will not be required. And at the University of Texas, 13 football players testing were presumed positive. And tonight, 20 states reporting increases in new cases, and hospitalizations are increasing in at least 18 states. For the first time ever, Florida reporting more than 3,000 new cases, and only 22% of ICU beds are available in the state. New York's governor so concerned about the situation in Florida, he may force anyone traveling from the Sunshine State to self-quarantine, just as Florida did to New Yorkers at the beginning of the pandemic.
We want to talk about a full 180. Fast forward 100 days, now we're afraid they're bringing the virus to our state.
In Arizona, people under the age of 45 make up 57% of all the cases. 30-year-old Jimmy Flores is one of them.
I did not take it seriously at all. And now that I have this, I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy.
And while the wearing of masks in public is being enforced here in California, in Texas, the mayors of 9 of the state's biggest cities have lobbied the governor, asking him to allow them to enforce mask wearing in public. They're concerned about their citizens. The governor rejecting that request. David.
All right, Matt Gutman with us from California. Thank you, Matt. And now to the growing battle. President Trump blasting John Bolton, his former national security advisor, calling him a liar now, trying to block his new book after the first details emerged from the book and the first interview with Bolton with our Martha Raddatz.
Tonight, President Trump attacking his former national security advisor as a wacko, calling his book a compilation of lies and made-up stories. But in new comments to ABC News, John Bolton brushing it all off.
I think it's unbecoming of the office of president. I think it degrades the political civil discourse in our country, and I'm just not going to respond to it.
But Bolton had some strong words for President Trump when he sat down with me for a wide-ranging interview after 17 months at the president's side, making some remarkable conclusions.
You described the president as erratic, foolish, behaved irrationally, bizarrely. You can't leave him alone for a minute. He saw conspiracies behind rocks and was stunningly uninformed. He couldn't tell the difference between his personal interests and the country's interests.
I don't think he's fit for office. I don't think he has the competence to carry out the job. There really isn't any guiding principle that I was able to discern other than what's good for Donald Trump's reelection.
You say that you were astonished by what you saw. A president for whom getting reelected was the only thing that mattered, even if it meant endangering or weakening the nation?
Well, I think he was so focused on the reelection that longer-term considerations fell by the wayside. So if he thought he could get a photo opportunity with Kim Jong-un at the demilitarized zone in Korea, there was considerable emphasis on the photo opportunity and the press reaction to it, and little or no focus on what such meetings did for the bargaining position of the United States.
In his new book, The Room Where It Happened, out June 23rd, Bolton writes that Trump saw the nuclear talks with North Korea as theater, the president asking how many people would cover it.
Martha Raddatz back with us live tonight. I know there's a lot more to this interview, Martha, but in the meantime, Trump administration lawyers I know will be in court tomorrow trying to block the release of Bolton's book. They say it contains classified information, but Bolton today telling ABC News that he believes that that's not the real reason.
That's right, David. He told us that he doesn't think the president is worried about foreign governments reading his book. Bolton thinks President Trump is worried about the American people reading this book, especially just months before the election. David.
All right, Martha, thank you. And again, there's a lot more to this interview. Martha's full interview with John Bolton airs this Sunday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, right here on ABC. And one more note from Washington, a symbolic moment on Capitol Hill. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi removing the portraits of former speakers who also served in the Confederacy. Speaker Pelosi taking down the portraits in observance of Juneteenth, calling them symbols of, quote, violent bigotry and grotesque racism. She has also called for the removal of 11 Confederate statues on display in the Capitol. When we come back here tonight, the major fires burning out of control at this hour, thousands forced to evacuate. Also, the bold escape attempt from New York's Rikers Island, and we remember a famous singer tonight.
It's starting to happen every day. People are surprising themselves the moment they realize they can do more with less asthma. Thanks to Dupixent, the add-on treatment for specific types of moderate to severe asthma. Dupixent isn't for sudden breathing problems. It can improve lung function for better breathing in as little as 2 weeks and help prevent severe asthma attacks. It's not a steroid, but can help reduce or eliminate oral steroids. Don't use if allergic to Dupixent. Serious allergic reactions can occur, including anaphylaxis, which is severe. Tell your doctor right away about signs of inflamed blood vessels such as rash, shortness of breath, chest pain, tingling or numbness in your limbs. Tell your doctor if you have a parasitic infection and before stopping any